Well, very nice to have you here.
It's lovely
And
to be here.
there is so much to talk about because you and I share certain experiences that I can't talk to a lot of people about this. Meaning,
It's weird, isn't it? Yeah, I know what you mean.
yes, we've both murdered without conscience, and we've never been caught.
I think the term is manslaughter. I don't think to be clear.
Yours. Can I just say yours was manslaughter?
Yeah, yours was actually.
Mine was. I thought about it for a long time.
No grounds for manslaughter.
It was murder.
Straight
out. I thought about it. I got the tub. I got the various chemicals.
Oh God! Wow, this is really taking a ticket. Now I am wary about being Conan O'Brien's friend.
You should be wary. You should be wary. No, we have a lot in common. And then I thought I'd start with the obvious one, which is we've both hosted late night shows, and it was so interesting to me because I read a quote from you once that I could relate to a lot, which is you said when you were picked for the Late Late Show that you thought, well, this is absurd. I've never stood on a monologue mark. I've never interviewed anyone. This shouldn't be what's happening. There was this sense of, gee, I haven't done any of the things that you're supposed to have been doing to be a late night host. But I thought I had other qualities that would out in the end.
Yeah.
And then it turns out that this very strict notion that we have here, I mean, these are really an American invention, these shows, I think. This really strict notion of what a late night host had to be changed a lot.
I think when I think about back when I started in amongst an entire out of body experience of feeling just unbelievably out of my depth and deeply unqualified to do such a thing. But I think I just was not completely aware of the history of the form in a way. I read, when I got the job, I read all the books, which, you're very, very much written about in lots of the Bill Carter books and things like that. And I read them all and I was like reading them thinking, this is nuts. You shouldn't be reading any of this.
No,
this is so silly to be reading this.
It is so foolish to be reading books about basically when you host one of these shows, you're going in to be yourself and create an environment where you're happy and you're doing your thing. So the idea that you'd be studying for it, you can't bone up on any of this. There's no school for it. You just have to do it and then increasingly find the things that you love to do those, keep doubling down on that. And you did that, and it was fantastically successful.
Well, that's it. I really remember quite vividly a sort of light bulb moment where we only had, I think we had 11 weeks to put our show together, build a set, get a team together, writers, all these things, segment producers and all this stuff. So there was really not a lot of time to think about it too sort of existentially. And then I would spend a lot of time, we couldn't really book any guests on the show because all publicists were just going, well, understandably we're going, well, we're going to wait and see what the show's like and then we'll book them. And we would be like, I don't know that we have that time because we were going to follow Letterman's last, I think, 2 months, maybe 7 weeks. And then we were following like repeats of Hawaii Five-0 through the summer.
It's my dream to follow a repeat of Hawaii Five-0.
It was actually one of my funniest bits we used to do where we'd follow like Hawaii Five-0 or shows of that ilk. And so we'd start episodes through the summer with a mock episode of Talking Hawaii Five-0. And we would just discuss what happened in that episode. And then sometimes, because the episode would be from like 5 years ago, and we'd find the guy who played like the guy at the newsstand.
That's fantastic.
And we'd be like, so anyway, we knew we had this little bit of time. And I was just thinking, God. And it's a strange thing about how you can sort of change your attitude really to how something's going. Where I would sit and I'd think, God, nobody knows what no one knows what I can do. Nobody knows what we could do. No one knows what this show is. And then you just have a moment when you go, oh, hang on, wait, nobody knows what I can do. Nobody knows what I'm capable of, and nobody knows what this show is. Oh, wow. All the things that I thought were negatives
are positive.
Just suddenly became positives. Or it's like, well, it doesn't matter then.
It boggles my mind how people manage to, wherever you place someone in the world or whatever situation you place them in, if they're meant to do something, I have this theory that like a salmon swimming upstream, they will figure that out. You have a moment when you're a kid where you very much realize, because then you have two sisters.
That's right. Yeah.
And your sisters are very funny, charismatic.
Oh, I'm the quietest.
You're the quiet
our
one.
Entire family.
But
no one can ever believe that.
What's your moment when you're looking at? Do you go to the theater? Where do you go? Where do you see it? Is it television or theater? Where do you look and say that? What is? Because I remember my moments when I'd say, "What is that? I want to be doing that."
Well, it's less so about seeing something. What a real big memory of mine is I can remember that I was 4 years old and we were a Salvation Army family, so we used to go to church of the Salvation Army, and which is a thing in of itself, which we'll unpack another day. And
I have to be honest with you, I don't know what a Salvation Army family is.
Salvation Army is kind of different in America than it is in the UK, where basically, and when you, like any church that you're born into, you think it's completely normal that on a Sunday your parents put on a uniform and you go down to church, and then you march through the town while your mum sings in the choir and your dad, is playing in the band. And this is just completely normal. We're walking through the town. This is what everybody does.
And it's the uniform that we know here in the U.S. as
correct.
The Salvation Army uniform.
It kind of looks
like a military.
It looks like a police. It looks like a police uniform, and your parents are wearing it, and your mum's got a bonnet on, and then you'll go to the morning service. You'll rush home, eat a roast dinner, which is essentially what Americans do on Thanksgiving. You'd eat that every Sunday.
Good deal.
Until you can't breathe, and then you'll go back at night and do it again. And there's a brass band and all this stuff. It's absolutely absurd. But when you're like 8, 4, 5, 6, 7, up until I was like 13, 14, I was like, so when you say weekend, you mean you're playing like soccer or any of these things? Nothing, zero. But
I love the assumption that you think everyone else is. Well, it's the weekend, so I guess your father is going to dress up
completely
like a corporal and bang on a drum
and sing "Onward, Christian Soldiers" as you walk through the town. Yeah, that's. We're all doing that, right, guys?
It's funny. I grew up very Catholic, and I just remembered thinking, well, this is what people do. We go to church, and then these magic tricks are performed where a cookie is turned into the body and blood of Christ, and there's incense and chimes are ringing, and I just assumed that this is what everybody does.
Yeah,
and then you realize,
true.
oh no. Yes, there's a large number of Catholics, but no, not everybody. Not everybody's watching this Las Vegas act every weekend.
Correct. That's it. So,
but I say that I don't say that with disrespect. I have the greatest respect for Las Vegas.
And Siegfried and Roy were your pastors, right?
Yes, they were. Until, unfortunately, you know what happened.
So I'm 4 years old.
So you're doing that.
4
You're
years
4.
old. My sister's being christened, which is the equivalent of sort of being, christened. You call it christened, right? In other churches. So she's being christened, and our family is on the platform, which is kind of any other parlance would be a stage, and the Salvation Army officer, who the vicar or the priest would said, James, you can't really see. Let's grab him a chair. And he got me a chair, and I stood on this chair, and then suddenly I could see the congregation of this church, which was probably 17 people. In my head, it was 1,000.
Sure.
And I looked out, and then I just sort of like started pulling like a face and gets a little giggle, and then do something else, and they giggle, and then I still remember turning around and looking under my legs, and they're all cracking up laughing. And I can remember, well, the weirdest thing is I remember them feeling amazing, and then going back to join the congregation and sitting between my elder sister and my mum, and I'm back in the sort of the rows of the church, and there's someone's back in front of me. And I remember thinking, well, this is boring compared to being up there.
Up there is better.
Up there, good. Down here, bleh. And from then on, just became a quest to be like up there. And that was it. Like, I really, really remember that. And then we would go to the theater all the time. Like when I was sort of turned 11, we didn't have much money really.
Right.
But so I I never used to get like birthday presents or Christmas presents. I would just get theatre tickets, and we'd go and see, Starlight Express or Les Miserables or The Phantom of the Opera, any of the big running musicals. And I would just remember sitting there just thinking, well, this is the most extraordinary feeling. I'm in a room with 2,000 people. This is just magic. This is amazing. How can I be a part of this somehow in any way, shape or form? This just feels completely right in every way.